GTS is a global market maker of ETFs, and we are the official market maker of Julie's ETF. And I'd like to introduce Julie. Julie, why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Reggie. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm the CEO of Democracy Investments. Our firm launched DMCY, the Democracy International Fund, 20 months ago. And it's just an honor to be here, and we're so honored to have you as our lead market maker.
Awesome. Let's jump right into it. Can you tell me about the mission of your company and how that involved into creating an index and an ETF?
Sure. So it's very personal for all three of the partners at Democracy Investments. I grew up near Washington, D.C. and began my career as a naval aviator. And early in my career, saw firsthand what it's like to not live in a democracy. I was stationed in the Philippines. And fast forward about 5 years ago, we were noticing the trends in democracy. Democracy is in a recession. Every year, the news is worse, and it's become even more relevant today with every headline, everything we're seeing: China, Russia, what's going on in Ukraine, Iran. So yeah, we're very mission driven, and we're very worried about global trends in democracy.
Well, I agree with you that there are some authoritarian regimes in the world that has caused global instability, and particularly around Vladimir Putin's choice to invade Ukraine. I'll be interested to understand more about your view around democracy and how that promotes returns in investments. Would you care to dive in real quick on that particular subject, because you brought it up? I'm curious.
Sure. So actually, when we set out originally, we hypothesized that investors could enjoy similar returns without giving anything up, with a strategy that tilts towards democracies and away from authoritarians. However, given everything you just described, the increase in instability, we've actually, our fund has seen some significant smart beta relative to the market cap only international index funds out there. So with 20 months of track record, we're seeing almost 5% of smart beta relative to the equivalent all world ex-US ETFs out there.
It's interesting, the current events where I see the leadership in China, Xi Jinping, for example, rolling back his zero COVID policies, largely due to protests, and that's amazing. And then I see in some Arab countries how women are standing up for their rights, and how there's rolling back of morality police. So investors' voice invariably, or the people's voice invariably, speaks loud. And it's amazing how your approach seems to capture that theme. I spent some time in the military base myself. My father was in the Air Force, and I can see it from a perspective of the values of being an American and American exceptionalism, and how we approach our adversaries.
Which base were you did you live at?
My father was in the Air Force, actually, and we lived in New Jersey and Oklahoma. And his longest tenured assignment was flying in the Air Force 144 Starlifters, carrying cargo around the world to adjudicate the matters as illustrated by the current president he served under. So it was McGuire Air Force Base and Altus Air Force Base out in Oklahoma.
Wow. So my grandfather was Army Air Guard and went to West Point, and he was a P-38 pilot in World War II. So he retired as a colonel in the Air Force. He was a POW in Germany. So that's on my mom's side. On my dad's side, my dad was born in Berlin, and his father fought back against the Nazis, refused to sign fake death certificates, barely got out as Hitler was coming to power. And so my dad came over when he was 5. So I feel like democracy's in my blood from both sides. And these trends are really disturbing. Everything you just described, but yet these brave people standing up and protesting, that's inspirational.
Yeah, it's great. Listen, you partner with The Economist on the Democracy Index. Can you tell us about this partnership and the mythology of the index?
So when we set out to do a strategy that would promote democracy, we went straight to The Economist because we believe they're one of the most robust, transparent measures of democracy in the world. They've been publishing the Democracy Index since 2006, using 60 different indicators for every country in the world, and they roll up into things such as electoral process, functioning of government, political participation, and civil liberties. So when we were able to secure a license to use that data for financial products globally, that's when we formed the company and set about creating our strategy to incorporate those country index scores with an all-world ex-US index. So yeah, we're super honored to be partnered with them, and they're a huge fan of our strategy. And they publish the updated scores come out at the end of January every year. So we rebalance quarterly and we update those scores annually.
So why the ETF particularly? Because you want to express your views and allow investors to have exposure to the base index. Is that why you launched the ETF? Yeah.
So for our first product, we thought the ETF wrapper would be appealing to both retail and institutional investors. It's very, very liquid, and it's cheap, easy to trade. So that's why we chose an ETF for our first product.
Interesting. Love to understand how this strategy compares to competitor indices or ETFs in the same sector. Can you give us a little bit of a view into the returns and the competition?
Sure. So we are basically an ACWI ex-US replacement. So the other all-world ex-US ETFs. There's also all-world ex-US products that are ESG focused. We could replace those very easily as well. But the difference is those products are market cap focused, and we are both market cap and democracy weighted. So we start with the same 2,800 large cap and mid cap developed in emerging markets. And then the process I described earlier, we look at each security's country of risk, apply their country democracy score, and then neutrally reweight. So for example, we significantly downweight China by 70%. We overweight countries like Taiwan, UK, Australia, Japan, Canada as well. So we're moving capital towards securities in more democratic countries and away from authoritarian states. And we don't take any country out. Well, except we got out of Russia when everyone else did. We followed the index. We keep every country in. So as we get larger, every country will be incented to improve their democracy score to get more capital. So we also have an incentive strategy to our ETF strategy.
Huh. Let's talk about asset allocation. Where do you think this product should be placed inside of a portfolio?
So like I said earlier, we are an ACWI ex-US replacement. So if your international sleeve is benchmarked to the ACWI ex-US, we have some clients actually tax loss harvesting into us and replacing their EFA exposure. You're okay with a little bit of emerging market. We're 85% developed market, 15% emerging markets.
That's great. And then how has this ETF performed, particularly this year with all the volatility? Can you give us a lens of historically how it's behaved?
Sure. So interestingly, like right after we launched, we started to see some smart beta. So we track the index, but we've outperformed. And our 20-month inception to date number is we're down 7.25%, and that's almost 5% better than the ACWI ACWX ETF, which is down 12.21%.
Oh, wow. So you have some alpha here.
Yeah,
Which
yeah, almost
particular
5%.
which particular country is driving the alpha, or is it across the board?
It's the underperformance of China that's driving the alpha, because we downweight them by 70%.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what do you think of our strategy?
Well, anything that expresses American values, which is freedom of choice and freedom of individual liberties, I have to get behind that. So it sounds like it's a terrific opportunity. And you being a new ETF, all advisors who are considering allocation to you should use limit orders as they're going into the marketplace. Because this is a broad-based basket, the basket itself is liquid. I'm the market maker, I can attest to that. But the ETF itself may be thinly traded just because there isn't secondary liquidity, but the basket itself is supremely so very easy to get exposure at the 5, 10, 15, or $25 million level. But I advocate that anyone considering using ETF use limit orders or go through an appropriate trading venue, particularly at the advisor trading desk, and then ultimately to access the markets, whether you're a GTS or otherwise. So Julie, it sounds like it's a terrific opportunity. I'll close by saying on one of my business trips, I do business with central banks around the world. And one of my trips, I went to Lithuania, and in 1980, the country deactivated KGB prison with the election of President Reagan and the collapse of the Soviet Union and the various walls, the Berlin Wall, for example. And one of the things that struck me the most, given the proposition of President Reagan and his espouse to freedom, that caused mindset change around the world. But if you dive into the mindset of the authoritarians and what they did to human beings, and the fact that American values champion change, it's an amazing thing to witness. Not only that, but to dwell and live in the sadness of how human beings were treated. And so I personally espouse the values of America. And Julie, I applaud you for compiling an index that expresses the views around the world that if the country is free and fair and competition ultimately will rise to the top, that individual investors will get the best benefit of capital and returns based on competition and freedom. Any closing words there, Julie, based on what I said?
Thank you, Reggie. You're an inspiration, and thank you for all you've done for the ETF industry. I understand your nickname is Mr. ETF. You're a pioneer, and it's an honor to be partnered with you.
Well, Julie, I am proud to be an American, proud to contribute my small part into financial systems. Anything I can do to help individual investors lower their costs, get exposure, and have freedom of choice, I'll do just that. With that, I was joined today talking about DMCY. I appreciate Julie Kane for joining me today. And if we can be helpful, please look for GTS as your trading partner. Thank you very much.